Hello and welcome to StratNews Global. I'm Surya Gangadharan. I have with me Professor Yen Jien-Fa. He is an academic based in Taiwan, works for the Chien University in Taiwan, and is an expert on cross-strait relations, meaning that he is an expert on relations with China, which is a major focus of interest here in India. Professor Yen, thank you very much for your time and welcome to this interview.
Okay, thank you for your invitation and introduction. Thank you.
So my first question, sir. Taiwan's relations with China appear to be the worst in recent memory. Is this correct? Is this accurate?
Yes, of course. In terms of cross relations, this is the worst case scenario. But I think this is also the safer timing for Taiwan, because the U.S. has pledged strong support for Taiwan. Especially, we are very important partner for United States. Taiwan is located at the center of the first island chain. Very, very
Yeah.
crucial U.S. security.
Mhm. And you expect that the US will stand by Taiwan? I mean, there were
Uh,
indications earlier. Not.
I think, of course, because of course, on one hand, U.S. has been supporting Taiwan's democracy and economic development, but on the other hand, it also related to U.S. interests, because if this first island chain were occupied by China, then U.S. will lose Asia Pacific region. So I think it's also very crucial for U.S. interests. I mean, this is not just the interest of Taiwan, but also interest of United States.
Yeah. So, how serious are China's threats of invasion? How seriously do you take it?
I think now a lot of informations are not so clear, but as we know that the domestic situation in China are very poor, because a lot of problems. For example, like economic downturns, and also China has been sanctioned by U.S. Technology issues. Besides, we'll see a lot of like flood and disease, virus issue. So now China is in the worst scenario. We don't know if Chinese leader will use this opportunity to trigger war against Taiwan. We don't know, but I think so far China keep a very low profile, because China knows that if China trigger war, then China may be set into a very difficult situation.
So, how do you? I don't know if you've been monitoring the standoff in eastern Ladakh in India between Indian and Chinese troops. What is your reading of the situation? And how can you tell? Can you kind of tell us what are China's motivations right now?
I think now China is in a very difficult situation. Uh, I, I really believe that now Indian government takes a very good position. I mean, to take a very hardliner approach against China, because China now has been contained by U.S. and its allies seriously. So I think there's a good opportunity for the Indian government to show its own stance. So don't compromise. This is my, of course, my personal views.
Mhm. And do you think China's move to establish, to bring in more troops in Ladakh, does it actually reflect pressures back home, or is it something else here?
I think China will not trigger war against India, because uh, so far the borders is not so crucial for China's in terms of strategic interest. The most important thing is the coastal areas, the Southeast Asia region, most important,
Yeah.
like China Sea. So the borders will not be the crucial interest for China. But in order to show its muscle, I think China will do something, but to just some limited. So I think that's just like a bluffing.
Mhm. Do you expect some military provocation by them, perhaps in Ladakh on the land borders with India, or perhaps at sea?
I think, of course, we depends on what will happen, because some incidents might happen, but I think China will try to keep it under control, because there will be a trouble if China was set into the dilemma, competing against India. China will lose more, because, as I just mentioned, that the southeastern part is coastal areas is the most important area for China to protect its own interest, and the northwest is not so important for China, comparatively speaking.
Chinese, the view here is that China is trying to formalize the border with India in the manner in which they want it, not necessarily due to any negotiation with India, but they're trying to force a solution on India. Is this how you see it?
My feeling is that at the borders issue, China just would take a defensive uh, uh, posture, gesture, and I think because now China has been contended by U.S. and its allies everywhere, and so I think China will not spend so many resources on the India-China borders. But China has to do something, because especially Xi Jinping has to convince its internal pressures, especially internal forces like the military people. But I think in the long run, that's not a immediate issue for China. So for this concern, this is if my argument is true, I think you may take a more radical approach against China, because this is a good timing for the neighbors to show your own strong stance.
Mhm. Why has China opened so many fronts, on Taiwan, in the South China Sea, against India? Why have they opened so many fronts at the same time?
I think this is the weakness of authoritarian regime, because the leader will be very isolated by some his aides, and so the information cannot enter into the circle. So and a lot of misjudgment of Beijing authorities. But as I know that the main concern for China is the U.S. So U.S. has been the main target, and apart from U.S., most of the issues just secondary. So I don't think China would try to provoke the borders issue. But just because of this reason, that's why I think you may push more, so you can get some benefits back.
But you don't see China, since President Xi heads the Central Military Commission. The impression here is that whatever is happening on the border has his clearance. It has been given, he has given it his permission.
I don't know. I don't know about because we have no information about this. But I think we can see that. For example, we see the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Wang Yi, uh, quite just a couple of weeks ago, he claimed that China would take a low profile, no confrontation against the external pressures. But you see, the PLA just took exercises on the coastal area. So there are some inconsistency here. So we don't know if this because I think now Xi Jinping seems not to handle the situation very well,
Yeah.
and because Xi Jinping has to compromise, and so if the moderate liners prevail, then Xi Jinping has to concede more. So I think they are Xi Jinping now is hostage by the hawkish liners, and some hawkish liners even propose that China has to claim the space the airspace. But I think that this will make Xi Jinping become more difficult.
Mhm. Is this position weak because of all these fronts that he has opened and the setbacks that he has suffered? Is his position in China weak?
I think at least now Xi Jinping is in a very uh, I I don't think he has a clear attitude, because now a lot of mixed information, messages from outside. So
Yeah.
he is not smart enough to make a good decision. Sometimes he thinks that he has to keep a low profile, but sometimes he was saying think compromise may bring more uh, attacks or more pressure from outside. So now he's in a very uh, now he's in a dilemma, a situation of dilemma. I especially now China encounter a lot of difficulties from U.S. sanction, especially in technology, high technology. So I think that now there is no clear lines for Xi Jinping to follow. But we don't know if Xi Jinping is weaker. I don't know, because if Xi Jinping can handle the PLA, can handle the military, then
Yeah.
he's safer.
Mhm. Is the PLA solidly behind him?
So you mean his power is solid?
In the sense that is the PLA completely loyal to him?
We It's very difficult to make a quick judgment on this. But at least now, no, I think now the Beijing government, especially Xi Jinping, is waiting for the outcome of the presidential election of the United States.
I
This is the
see.
main concern for Xi Jinping. So I think because of this expectation, so Xi Jinping will compromise everywhere. And now the so-called uh, missile the military exercises just to just kind of a bluffing. That's not a
Mhm.
real actions.
If Donald Trump comes back to power in the November elections, how do you see the scenario playing out?
I think the sanction against China will be more organized, more systemized, because we know that Trump has done a lot as what he said before. So
Yeah.
his policy is very consistent, and he mentioned that China has to take a responsibility for the virus, for the
Mm.
COVID-19. So I think he would try to push China to pay for the casualties. But this is a big project for China, because it will cost a lot of money, and
Yeah.
I don't think China can offer that. So the confrontation will not stop. Will be continue.
In the event Joe Biden becomes president, he's a Democrat. Do you expect some kind of an arrangement will be worked out between them?
I think if Joe Biden were elected, then the first 2 years probably he would follow up Trump's
Uh,
framework, because Trump's framework has been very clear, and also they will also benefit the next regime. But after the second term, the second half of the first term, we don't know, because Joe Biden is not so determined like Trump, and
yeah. Yeah.
China is very good at to play tricks, use economic interests and economic incentives and penalties to play the cards. And so I don't think uh, Joe Biden is strong enough to cope with Xi Jinping's tactics. Only I
How
think
badly?
only Trump
Yeah.
can deal with the Chinese Communist leaders.
How badly has the economic sanctions by the US? How badly has it hit China?
As I know that if now China has a proposal to turn into the domestic economic circulation, but I think this is not a good solution for Chinese economy, because if China lose the high tech technology supplies, then there will be a long-term damage for Chinese economic reform, or even the supply of military weapons. That's a very key. I think the technology sanctions is a very strong weapon in hands of United States. So I'm very pessimistic toward China's future. But this China has to pay, because China did a lot of wrong things. China stole a lot of technology from the United States. That's what they have to pay.
There is a view that China is in some kind of strategic overreach. Would you agree with that?
Strategic what?
Overreach. They have gone well beyond their part to control events, or what their resources can control in terms of their military posturing and their aggression in South China Sea, confrontation with India. They are in strategic overreach. Is this a point that you agree with?
I think because we have to understand that this leadership is from was organized by the people grew up in Cultural Revolution. The people grew up in Cultural Revolution era of Cultural Revolution has a quality of destruction and aggression, so on and so forth. They do not follow the rules. But now this is a rule-based international community. So a lot of things that China has wrongdoing things. Of course, at the first stage, they may follow rules, but when they encounter some difficulties, they will overthrow the rules. They don't follow the rules, so their credibility is not so accepted by the international communities. For example, like a South China Sea issue. Actually, they had a very good tacit understanding between China and ASEAN countries. But when they push to a certain stage, they will break the rules. They do not follow the rules, and so that's why ASEAN countries just pass a, a resolution led by Vietnam, that they will follow up the international tribune, the international laws. I don't know how to call that.
Yeah, the tribunal.
Yeah,
The
right.
Hague.
Yeah, the Hague. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Do you see any rivals to Xi Jinping in the Communist Party today? People who could take over from him, who may want to take over from him?
I don't see it, because Li Keqiang is more outstanding, but Li Keqiang has been marginalized, and so far we cannot see any strong leaders to fight against Xi Jinping. Then this is also a strength of Xi Jinping. So from this perspective, if we cannot push Xi Jinping to compromise, then the China will revive again. If Trump loses this presidency, then I believe that Xi Jinping will revive. The power of Xi Jinping will revive. So I think this is a good timing for U.S. and its allies to push China to concede more. We
So
don't see,
you ex
we don't see any opposition parties inside China. That's as
yeah,
this is the problems we have to face.
yeah. So last question. You expect that if Trump does not return to power, Xi Jinping will his own power will expand. He will become more aggressive. Is that what you're saying?
Uh, at least it's very difficult if Trump President Trump were not elected again, re-elected again, then Xi Jinping will be very safe, and his power will be secured, and then it will be very difficult to cope with Xi Jinping. So that's what I'm saying. But I don't think Xi Jinping can take a radical approach against external pressures, because now the most important thing is the economy and technology development. And so far, you see that there are decoupling of Chinese economy and in the international businesses. And so China now is very fragile, internally speaking. Of course, China remains a strong economy, but that's in the quantitative sense, not in the qualitative sense. In the qualitative sense, that now China is in a very worse situation. But in quantitative sense, because China has risen. So we can see that it's very difficult for us to pressure China down to the ground. But it's but from Chinese side, China also cannot grow up again because of the technology bottlenecks. And if Trump will take sanction against China in the financial affairs, then this China situation will be worse, even worse.
Okay, so interesting. So, if China's back is to the wall, you think they will turn to war or violence of some kind?
Uh, Depends. I think finally, because as you know that most of the tycoons or most of the officials, they they will they will take a flight to overseas, and
Yes.
so the internal solidarity was basically is very weak, and
Mm-hmm.
and also because of the polarization of wealth. So I don't think the lower class people will support Xi Jinping to trigger a war. And as you know, the flood situation now is very serious in China. So what the Chinese people are concerned is just make a living, a minimum living, eating food, eating, and even the house. But now, so the situation will turn to the just a basic needs, and so it's very difficult to mobilize the so-called Chinese nationalism against the external pressure, especially as you know, Vice President Pence has announced last year that there is a uh, clear uh, line between Chinese Communist Party and Chinese people. We
Yeah.
have the same feeling that as no, we DPP, the ruling party of Taiwan. We don't take Chinese people as our enemies. We just
Yeah.
see Communist Party as our enemies. So you will see that more and more people uh, are trying to not cooperate with the CCP, but they're just in a very taxing manner. So it's very difficult to mobilize a war. So you will see that there is different opinions in the issue of triggering a war. But for example, you see India. India now is very consistent. I mean,
Yeah.
you're inside. You have no different opinions. That means that you have a strong base to mobilize the solidarity. But
Yeah.
inside China now is very fragile, very weak.
Very interesting, Professor Yen. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you for that insight and perspective. And you've done much to clear up some of the fog surrounding China's motivations at this point. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Hope to see you again.